Hello, this is your host. Today we are going to continue our discussion on how the unconscious communicates through art. This is episode 33. Now, if you're new here, please make sure that you like and subscribe so that you don't miss any future episodes. Now let's get started. In the last episode, we discussed how the unconscious communicates through dreams. Our conscious mind processes all this information and makes decisions on what is relevant and what is not. However, when we are asleep, our senses are closed, and our conscious mind becomes less active. This creates a space for the unconscious mind to come to the surface and communicate with us. When we understand the language of our dreams, we can use it to our advantage. We can use our dreams to guide us in making decisions in our waking lives. Writing can be a powerful tool for self-discovery and healing. When we write, we are able to express our thoughts and feelings in a way that we may not be able to do in person. When we bottle up our emotions, whether it's because we're afraid to feel them, or we do and know how to deal with them, they can manifest in unhealthy ways. When we are stuck in our heads, we tend to think the same thoughts over and over again. This can reinforce negative beliefs and make it difficult to see a way out of a situation. Writing can help us to break out of this cycle by forcing us to look at our experiences from different angles. It can be a way to cope with stress and anxiety. In fact, there have been many studies that show the benefits of painting as a form of therapy. We are able to communicate our thoughts, feelings, and ideas to others in a way that is universal. When we paint our emotions, we are able to express them in a non-threatening way. When we paint our dreams, we are able to capture the imagery and symbolism that we see in our minds. We are able to communicate them to others in a way that is imaginative and creative. What matters is how the viewer interprets the painting and what the painting means to the viewer. We are able to share them with others in a way that is magical and enchanting. We are able to communicate them to others in a way that is clear and concise. The interpretation of a painting is highly subjective and depends on the individual viewer's perspective. However, there are some general principles that can help us to interpret the meaning of a painting. For example, the colors that are used in a painting can convey certain emotions. For example, the color red can convey passion, love, or anger. The color blue can convey calmness, peace, or sadness. The brushstrokes that are used in a painting can also convey certain emotions. For example, thick brushstrokes can convey energy and movement. Thin brushstrokes can convey delicacy and precision. We are able to share them with others in a way that is intimate and personal. We are able to share our perspective on the world with others in a way that is meaningful. For example, one study found that painting can help people to reduce stress and anxiety and improve their mood. Another study found that painting can help people to express themselves more effectively and improve their mental health. This can lead to new insights and a better understanding of ourselves and our problems. There are many different types of paints and materials that can be used. However, the most important thing is that painting is a form of expression, is a way to communicate, is a way to share. Please let me know in the comments below if you have ever had an experience where you felt that the unconscious was trying to communicate with you through art. If you have, please share your story. I would love to hear it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Writing gives us a safe outlet for our emotions and allows us to process them in a healthy way. Journaling can help us to become more aware of our thoughts and feelings and track our progress over time. Painting is another form of art that can be used as a form of communication. It is a way to express oneself without words. It is a way to communicate one's thoughts, feelings, and ideas to others. It is a way to share one's perspective on the world. It can also be a great source of ideas and inspiration. Another way to use writing for self-discovery and healing is to write creatively. This could involve writing stories, poems, or songs. Creative writing can help us to express our emotions in a non-threatening way and explore our creativity. This can lead to a reduction in negative emotions and an increase in positive emotions. This can be especially helpful when dealing with difficult emotions such as grief, anger, or trauma. For example, if we are torn between two choices, we can ask ourselves what our dreams are trying to tell us. Are our dreams positive or negative? If they are positive, then it may be a sign that we should follow our heart. If they are negative, then it may be a sign that we should follow our head. It uses the language of symbols and imagery to do that. They're just one piece of the puzzle. We should also consider our logic and reason when making decisions. These symbols and imagery are often bizarre and make no sense in the context of our waking world. but they have a deeper meaning that the unconscious mind is trying to convey. In fact, there have been many studies that show the benefits of writing about traumatic events. For example, one study found that cancer patients who wrote about their illness every day for 5 days had fewer negative emotions and fewer physical symptoms than those who did not write. Another study found that students who wrote about their goals for the semester had higher grades than those who did not write. The most important thing that we learned is that when we have dreams, there's always an intention behind it. There's a reason why our body decides to put us into a dream state and allow the unconscious mind to take over the conscious mind. The unconscious mind has something it wants to tell us or show us, and it will use the imagery of dreams to do that. When we are awake, our senses are open, and we are bombarded with all kinds of stimuli from the outside world. So how does the unconscious mind choose which symbols and imagery to use? It chooses them based on our individual experiences and emotions. For example, if we have recently gone through a traumatic event, we may start to have dreams about being chased or attacked. Well, there is no one-size-fits-all answer to this question. Each person is unique, and their dreams will reflect their unique experiences and emotions. However, there are some general rules that can help us interpret the symbols and imagery in our dreams. For example, if we dream about something positive, it may reflect our unconscious mind as belief that we are capable of achieving our goals and overcoming challenges. On the other hand, if we dream about something negative, it may reflect our unconscious mind's belief that we are not capable of achieving our goals and overcoming challenges. On the other hand, if we are feeling happy and content, we may dream about flying or being in a beautiful place. So how can we interpret these symbols and imagery in our dreams? So how can we use this knowledge to improve our lives? However, it is important to note that our dreams should not be the only factor that we consider when making decisions. Now let's discuss how the unconscious communicates through writing. The process of writing can help us to release these emotions and move forward in our lives. So how does writing work to produce these results? One theory is that when we write, we are able to express our emotions in a healthy way. Another theory is that when we write, we are able to gain new perspectives on our experiences. One way to use writing for self-discovery and healing is to keep a journal. Now let's discuss how the unconscious communicates through painting. Painting can be used as a form of therapy. It can be a way to explore one's inner thoughts and feelings. There are many different ways to paint. There are many different styles of painting. When we paint, we are able to express ourselves in a way that we may not be able to do with words. One way to use painting for self-discovery and healing is to paint one's emotions. Another way to use painting for self-discovery and healing is to paint one's dreams. So how can we interpret the meaning of a painting? It is important to note that the interpretation of a painting is not absolute, and there is no right or wrong way to interpret a painting. I hope you enjoyed this episode on how the unconscious communicates through art.